This podcast is sponsored by the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is a catalyst for growth and prosperity and is here to protect and promote business, inspire innovation, cultivate communities, and influence action. Learn more at fmwfchamber.com.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Inforum Business Beat podcast. This is your host, Thomas Evanella. This week, I'm going to be joined by Inforum digital producer Kris Kerzman. Kris is here to help me discuss my two recent roundups of which businesses closed in 2022 and which are expected to open in 2023. And there is an awful lot to get you caught up on, and a whole lot to look forward to in the new year. So with all that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Kris.
Hey there, Thomas. How you doing?
I'm good, Kris. How are you?
I'm doing great. You have a nice holiday?
Yes, I did. It was a little uneventful, to be honest, but it was nice to just relax. I mean, we had two back-to-back 3-day weekends, so I appreciated that.
Me too. It was nice. It was nice holiday, nice and quiet. I appreciate that. But, 2023, we rang in a new year here, and 2023 appears to not be too quiet when it comes to the Fargo-Moorhead business climate. It's pretty eventful, right? Yeah,
it's going to be pretty active. And, I put together a roundup story of some of the things that we can expect to see coming in 2023. And it's important to caution right off the bat that story didn't even include everything that we're expecting, and we will see new things be announced throughout the course of the year. So that's really, I'm not going to say it's scratching the surface because it was fairly comprehensive, but it's not the full picture.
Sure. Incidentally, for anybody listening, you can find that just by visiting inforum.com and heading to the business section of the website and scrolling down there. You also did a wrap up of a lot of the businesses that opened and closed in 2022, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we did highlight the businesses that unfortunately closed in 2022. Just for a quick wrap on that, that was 33 businesses that closed or announced plans to close in 2022, which is, if you're doing the math, that's about 3 every month, which is pretty high. It's higher than I recall doing. I've done this story for the past couple of years, and that's the highest number I recall seeing. I kind of broke that down into 3 categories. We had about 18 in the food service industry, 6 retail establishments, and 9 sort of service or recreational establishments. And we had 2 common themes that emerged there. A lot of it was either lack of employees, which is a common theme at a lot of businesses, and ultimately these businesses kind of succumbed to that. Or we had businesses that they had a lot of bad timing with their opening in terms of opening during the height of the pandemic. Stonetown Grill in Fargo and Nature of the North in Moorhead are 2 examples of that scenario where they just opened at the wrong time and were set back because of that. So, yeah, we did see a lot of businesses close in the past year, but we have a lot of businesses and projects to look forward to in 2023.
Great. Well, let's jump in and talk about a few of them. And maybe sort of some of the trends we see too. So I would say easily the most anticipated project based off of what our audience is reading and reacting to for the next year appears to be the new additions to Brewholla coming in Fargo. Can you take us through some of those?
Yeah, Brewholla is going to be an extremely comprehensive project from Drecker Brewing Company. It's not quite downtown by definition. It's downtown adjacent, I would say. It's going to be packed. There's going to be a hotel, event space, and a marketplace area. And every time we turn around, we keep hearing new names are being added to that marketplace. That's going to be some prominent downtown businesses such as Blackbird, Nicole's Fine Pastry, Unglued, and then 3 new additions, the Mangata Wine and Raw Bar, Unicorn Park Fine Foodery, and Luna Market. And I'm sure that once this place opens, there are going to be a lot more businesses that want to get a piece of the action. And I recall when we first reported on Brewholla that there was talk that perhaps events like the Red River Market or some of the seasonal events could be hosted there. I don't know where things stand on that, but it's certainly plausible. And it's all going to be under this one massive roof. And honestly, I'm very interested to see what the inside of this place is going to be like, because I don't know how they're going to fit all of this in. And for Brewhalla, we're looking at an early 2023 opening. They haven't specified a date, but I would imagine it's going to be in the next few months.
Yeah, really, a really interesting sort of complex in a way that they're setting up there. We use the phrase magic factory to describe this development. I think it was a story that Helmut Schmidt did back in April or May. I think when the Unglued folks announced that they were going to be moving over there, and it's interesting because I think it sort of hits on this idea that it's a new cool spot. A lot of this really popular niche retail and eateries are all going to be sort of under that roof. Of course, with the massive popularity of Drecker as well. Thomas, you and I certainly know arbiters of cool, but what does it seem like the center of cool is sort of moving away from downtown Fargo?
Well, I just want to say that speak for yourself on not being an arbiter of cool. I feel like I am an arbiter of cool. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think we are moving a little bit away from everything happening downtown per se. Now, again, like I said before, this is going to be really close to downtown, but it is all going to be under one roof, which I think is very appealing for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, it's just one-stop shop. And also think about having to go in and out of several places in the winter. That's not really an appealing prospect here in the area. But you mentioned another place that's similar. It's not as beer-focused, but Kingpins down in South Fargo. We have Kingpins. There's a restaurant inside of there, an arcade in there, the bowling alley, and Sweet Shots is right next door. And, oh yeah, another one that we were talking about later on, Plaza Azteca, is opening right nearby. So I think there's a lot of appeal for a lot of reasons to have this sort of all-in-one complex.
Yeah, and it's an interesting trend that, speaking of Kingpins, when that first opened early last year and then quickly became really popular, it won our best bets for the best arcade, I believe, in town, and one of the best, like family fun places, which is, interesting. Like, it took off that quickly. But it made me think of this notion of like a family fun center or family fun complex, for lack of a better term. And I actually did a little bit of poking around, not exactly like market research. And I did turn up a little bit of, I think it was via Yahoo News, was a release from a trade group that it represents a lot of these family entertainment centers. And they project that they're supposed to grow or project growth around 12.7% for this coming year, which to me indicates that there definitely is sort of a trend towards, I think humans have always sort of been like interested in a place where they can go and get a little bit of everything. And it's the redefinition of that into places like Kingpins and, with VR booths and, like interesting takes on bowling, alongside Brewhalla with a brewery and fun crafting and fun eateries and retail there. I don't know. They make it seems like where downtown used to be like the one place for our entertainment district. Now we have a handful of those.
Yeah, and I think that's a good trend overall for Fargo, because it makes it so that it's not all dependent on one area of town. Or if you live in other areas of Fargo, you might not want to schlep all the way downtown, as much as I can use the term schlep lightly here. It can be. It can be. I mean, I'm thinking of like maybe a little far-flung areas. You might not want to drive downtown for that. But it's nice to have these in multiple areas. And I think Fargo can support that too.
Yeah. Really cool. We'll, of course, keep an eye on that moving forward. Well, so we're speaking of downtown. Obviously, saying that it's no longer the center of cool is certainly belayed by the fact that there's still tons going on downtown. Maybe give us a rundown of some of the big projects that are in the works for this year. Okay.
And downtown, obviously, we just spent time saying that downtown is no longer what it once was, but that's just hardly the case at all. I fully expect that we're going to see the three Kilbourne projects, I fully expect we're going to see their ground level, surface level spaces fill up. And that was Kessler, Mercantile, and the Landing. They all have spaces on the ground level for retail or restaurants. The Mercantile currently houses the Fargo Police downtown substation, and the Kessler is planning to have a bottle barn open on the street level. And the Landing has a ground level restaurant space as well. So I believe that is going to, I think it would be quite a stretch to not see those places fill up this year. And when it comes to Kilbourne is always a big factor in downtown development. And Kilbourne has 2 more projects, which Helmut Schmidt actually just reported on this past weekend. And those are the River House, that's going to have 114 units and should be done in 2024. And they're going to have a mixed-use building at 501 Main Avenue. And that's going to be across the street from the new Bell Bank headquarters, which is, another thing that we can look forward to downtown in 2023.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be any less busy downtown than it has been by any stretch. There will also be a fairly high-profile changing of hands going on with the old Hodo, as the Blarney Stone is slated to open too, right?
That's right, and that is happening very soon. And it's not just, and I want to add this too, it's not just Kilbourne that's got stuff going on downtown. Epic Companies has made a lot of progress in grabbing a slice of the pie, so to speak, downtown. They had their Gateway by Epic, which opened in 2021, and the Arch is coming in 2023. Now, the Arch is probably going to be the biggest addition in terms of the Fargo skyline, dare I say. So that's going to be another mixed-use building with residential and retail spaces. And it's kind of brings about a seemingly new emphasis downtown on developing the riverfront area. And it kind of seems to be that that's the new frontier, so to speak, where people want to start building. I know the pedestrian walkway is kind of still being hashed out, but there are other projects in the work there to fill in that area and sort of develop that into the sort of riverfront that we see in other cities.
Our columnist, Mike McFeely, had a recent column that I'm sure you read. And I thought was really interesting because I think Mike touched on what was kind of something that I maybe was sort of thinking, but had never really thought out loud, which was that, we don't think of the Red River as a place for stuff like that, to a place to go, a place to sort of enjoy this bit of nature, mainly because we think of the Red River as a nuisance, this thing that floods, and we've got to, expend all this time and energy in keeping inside its banks. And so I think he's identified a really interesting psychology moving forward that, that I thought was really helpful to point out, and puts a lot of this kind of development talk into context. If you've ever gone to the Forks up in Winnipeg, it's a lovely area of town there where people spend a lot of time. They come and they just hang out. They might throw a frisbee. They might go to the Forks, which is in its own sort of a family entertainment center. You can get a beer. The kids can eat a slice of pizza. You can have whatever, and then take a walk along the river. And that's I think what we're kind of moving toward there.
Yeah, and a couple more that I think of on that vein is Minneapolis, obviously, and then St. Louis in Missouri. Obviously, that's where the Gateway Arch is, and the Ohio River in Cincinnati as well. All of those areas, and I'm not saying that Fargo is nearly on the scale population-wise as those cities, but all of those areas really value their riverfront, and for some reason, the psychology here in Fargo is that the Red River is not really an asset in terms of aesthetics of the town, but I think that might slowly change, especially with the diversion. I mean, the flooding is essentially going to be a non-factor at that point.
Yeah. Thomas, one of my favorite, the thing that I guess that I'm most anticipating coming next year is the expanded Asian and American market. Me and my family, we're big A&A shoppers. We love it there. Tell us a little bit about their new expanded location.
Well, if you were big A&A shoppers before, you're going to be even bigger A&A shoppers now. That's a really exciting piece as well. That's going to be 19,500 square feet. And when I put together my story on the things to come in 2023, both the owner, John Hune, and his contractors said that they were looking at a mid-January opening date. So that's another one that we can look forward to very soon. I mean, anybody who's driven past it, driven on Main Avenue, has seen it, and they're just about done. I don't know what it looks like on the inside, but I think that's going to be very soon.
What are you most excited for, Thomas?
I have to say, we spent so much time talking about it, but Brouhaha is definitely the biggest one for me. I feel like we know what's going to be in there, but there's a lot of mystery behind it. I'd really love to see what that's like on the inside. And I'd really like to see what they're doing with the Blarney Stone as well. But there are other projects too that kind of came in further down our list. A few ethnic restaurants, Himalayan Yak, Puerto Vallarta, and the Plaza Azteca, like I mentioned. All of those will definitely be, I will most certainly be patronizing all of those at some point. So I'm definitely excited to visit some of those restaurants as well.
We're going to have to do some lunch there, I think, at one of those locations. Last thing I have for you, Thomas. So looking at what's all coming down the pike here in 2023, there's no shortage of examples of growth. Does that indicate that this will be an optimistic year? Do you sense optimism in our local economy in general?
I think there's always going to be optimism in the Fargo-Moorhead economy. There's a lot of development going on, a lot of development that's still going on. I mean, we have some projects that we've already reported on that are opening in 2024. Those are projects like the Block on University Drive, the Hospice of the Red River Valley Hospice House, Compass Apartments in Moorhead, the Wave Water Park by Epic, which is probably one that we should have talked about more, but again, that's for 2024. So yeah, I mean, I sense a ton of optimism, and of course, the biggest hurdle here is going to be the workforce issues that Fargo-Moorhead still needs to resolve.
All this is great, Thomas. We got a lot to look forward to in the new year, and I'm sure you and the rest of the business team will be on hand for all of it.
Yeah, you bet, Kris. We will be all over it for sure.
Great, thanks.
That'll be a wrap for this week's edition of the Inform Business Beat podcast. This has been your host, Thomas Evanella. A big thank you to Kris for helping me out this week. And as always, be on the lookout for more episodes of this podcast and stick with inforum.com/business for all the business news from around our area.